What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In the short time I have this morning, first of all, for those of you that don't know, we recently changed our shop hours. We do Monday through Thursday now, 10 to 6. So the guys, all of us work 410s. It works out better because one of my main guys, he only works 410s, or he always has worked 410s. So we just all jumped on that. Gives the guys a 3-day weekend. It gives me an opportunity to do a little bit of my side business that I do with the dirt work and stuff. So that's where we're at now. So I'm up here today because I don't have anything lined up this week, and I'm going to try to get started on Jonathan's tree support inside of his Mike Caustic carbon front end for his Trans Am, the Ripper. So let's get started. Okay guys, we got the car on the lift. You've seen us kind of put the front end on there. That's because we've kind of already mocked up the front end. The process is basically get your body lines as close as you can get them. This Mike Caustic carbon nose fits phenomenal. I mean, it's pretty close just right out of the box. I don't see how you could really get any closer. But we drilled some little pinholes here and use Cleco fasteners. If you don't know what those are, I'll show you here in a minute when I get over to the toolbox. But we've got one on the top, one on the bottom, on both sides, getting our body lines kind of lined up. And that way you pretty much know that the front height is good. And our advantage here is the throttle body. We've got a couple layers of cardboard up there, but it barely clears this tall intake on this LT motor. So the front end is kind of setting on that right now, kind of holding it up. It don't really weigh enough to hurt it, but when he got this from Mike, the hood and everything is screwed on in place because all this will be glued together as one piece. So it's kind of holding itself up at the correct height right now. So I'll show you. This is called a Cleco, or a temporary rivet. For those of you that don't know, might not do a lot of fab work or ever seen these before, but these little pliers, it's spring loaded, and you drill a hole, push this down in it, and when you release, see it spreads out. So it's basically a temporary rivet. This is what you use whenever you're mocking up stuff, so you don't have to put a fixed rivet in that you have to drill out later. So the kit we've got here come from Quartermax. These are chromoly tubes that come with it. I've got the large main tube already in the front that I'll show you here in a minute. These are the plates that you'll use to eventually panel bond to the front end, but they've got holes in them where you can use the Cleco fasteners to hold them in place when you're mocking it up. These are the little end caps that go on the main tube. I typically like to get the tube sizes where they slide into the main tube, where you can adjust them in or out. I thought this kit come with it, but it didn't. But it's neither here nor there. We're gonna work with it anyway. These are your lineup tabs that will go on the main bar. So these help you get the front end lined up, but they also keep it from shaking side to side. So you have your main tube here. Now the Quartermax kit also comes with this gusset here and your receiver hook, or whatever you want to call it here. But it's got adjustment holes where you can adjust it up and down. This gusset welds on top of your frame rail there. So these tabs will go right here. Sorry, I dropped the camera kind of out of view. They'll go right there. So when you're sliding your front end on, it'll give you a little bit of wiggle room to kind of guide it into place. But without these, your front end is going to be attached back here with some Zeus fasteners or something, maybe 2 or 3 up the along the door there, or down on the bottom, or however we end up doing it. But that will hold the front end from coming off that way. But you need something to hold it from going side to side. So that's the job of these little bent tabs right here. Is once these are on there, the front end cannot wiggle side to side like that. It'll hold it exactly where it goes. So that's the main tube there. We're gonna get it on the bench, get the caps welded on the end of it, drill a little vent hole so it don't try to blow out on us when we weld the other things to it. And then we'll go to the next step. I've done here with the tube after welding the ends is I took my little locator flanges and I actually put the tube up here if I can do it and hold the camera at the same time. I put a couple little magnets on it to hold it tight, and I made some marks with a fine tip marker where these flanges lined up. And then I took it on the bench over there and laid them out level and went ahead and got them tacked on in location. So I'm just verifying right here that they're good. And I can see that they are. They don't really have any wiggle. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch or something. You don't want it so tight that it just won't go on there. But really hardly any wiggle at all. So I'm good to go there. I'm going to take them back off and make sure that these are tacked in secure, won't be moving around. And then I'll have my base tube in place and ready to start putting other tubes off of it. You see there, my one mark is for the receiver, and then I've got another one you can't really see there, but So what you just seen me do is place the first set of our plates for our tree. And what I did is pick these points because this is going to be our side-to-side support on these lower corners, which are pretty floppy. So you got to remember when you're considering how to lay this tree out, you're going to need vertical support, front to back support, and side to side support. So this is where we're starting, or where I usually start, is these. So what I'm going to do now is get these tubes fit from here to here on both sides. And then I've already got my second spot picked out for the vertical support. I'm probably going to go right here. This is a nice rigid spot for the front end, right there in that formed little bend around the headlight, or what would be the headlight if it wasn't a one piece. So going to come from there straight down to our tube. It's not going to be straight down, it's kind of got to be at an angle like that, but mostly vertical. And that's where we're going to stop, and we're going to sit here and think about it, because you have to remember, you don't want to build yourself into a corner. And this is the early stages of this setup on this car. We haven't got turbo or fuel cell or any of this stuff laid out in the engine bay. So there's a lot of things to consider. Sometimes I might even stop at just the 4 points of the tree, and then just give it something where we can pull the nose on and off the car, and then at the very end come back after the setup is completely done and fill in the gaps, you know, with whatever support is needed based on how a setup turns out, which is probably what I'm going to do. So I mean, you guys get the gist of setting this thing up, and so we're probably going to stop at the next 2 points, just because we don't know how the setup's going to go, and I don't want to have to do any backtracking. So let's get these other ones in. So looking now, I've went around and welded almost halfway around all the contact points. So this can be taken off now. You can take the Clecos out, get this on the bench, and weld all the way around these points without risking damaging the front end. Now on Ethan, I had Ethan over here holding a wet rag on the back side of this while I welded. You can put something in between this, but then it's going to make your measurement off a little bit. Just don't get too crazy on how much heat you put on this stuff against that carbon, because it'll start bubbling the gel coat that's on the outside pretty bad. But I had him hold a cold rag against the outside while I put some weld on there, and then we instantly got the air hose and cooled down the plate so it didn't damage the carbon. But this is pretty much all I'm gonna do, like I said, until we get all this setup done. And then I'll come back and put probably a support in the middle here, or maybe one here and one here, but something straightforward on the nose. And maybe if the turbo's not in the way, we might do something that goes straight here instead. But either way, we're going to add some more supports. This is not all it's going to have, but this is all it needs for our purposes of getting it on and off the car to get the rest of the setup done. So let's get it out on the bench and get it welded up. Everything's fully welded up now. Just been letting it cool, sanded the plates down where it tried to bubble out the back side. I'm gonna get Joey to help me in there pull the nose off the car. I'm gonna get this tree clecoed back just like it was, and then we should be able to slide the nose on just like it normally would if it was a finished car. There you can see what it looks like all put on. As far as doing one of these, this is not that complex. Pretty simple actually. It's just a process, one step at a time. Don't try to overthink it. Let's put it back on the car. And there it is, a very complex video of making a tree for your one-piece nose. See, it wasn't that bad. Didn't take that long. So hopefully this helps somebody, and bring you some more videos soon.
See you guys.